Fear, little one. I am here to protect thee.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Joffrey Noodle Legs here today with a late night movie review, and today we're looking at a classic, absolute classic, 1976 The Omen, starring Lee Remick and Gregory Peck. Whew. Now this is a classic film. It's one of the films that really got me into the horror genre. I saw this when I was a young lad, and I got a little bit obsessed with it, and I got to know the script. I used to know it word by word. I still do, and I just absolutely love the film. It's just one of those films that just grabs you, and this grabbed me. And the story is a compelling story about the son of the devil. Now, the film starts off in Italy, in sort of Rome, and we see Gregory Peck, who's like a government sort of worker for America, and he's rushing towards this. I think it's like a hospital, but it seems to be run by nuns and the church. He's rushing there because his wife, played by Lee Remick, who is pregnant, has lost a baby. So she's lost her baby, and he arrives there, and he hasn't got a clue what to say to her or what to do. And the priest says, "Well, why don't you adopt?" And he talks to Gregory Peck and says, "Your wife needn't know. She doesn't need to know, anything, because she doesn't know that the baby's dead, obviously, because she's had the baby and she's sleeping or resting." And he said, "If you adopt," he said, "this baby was born the same moment that his baby died, and the mother of the baby died giving birth." He said, "There's no relatives, so it would be like a godsend for the baby and for his family if he adopted it." Anyway, so he decides to go along with this, and he adopts the baby, who they call Damien. Now, he doesn't tell his wife or anything, so she's quite happy, and they're sort of like all getting loved up and really happy they got a child. We didn't cut to when she's back home at the wherever they're living here in Italy, and Robert, who played by Gregory Peck, turns up home and says, "Get packed, we're moving." And she said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And she sort of follows him through the building, and he breaks the news to her that he's been made the ambassador of Great Britain. So to him, that's another step towards being president of the White House. That's how their sort of politics works, I believe. So they're all excited, and they move to England, and we see some good old London. And so they move over to England to this beautiful this house, and they seem to be settling in quite well. And as they walk the sort of moors and all this kind of thing, in the beautiful sort of sunset in the English countryside, obviously they're living just outside London, and they seem quite happy. And the film cuts to like a montage of photos where we see sort of Damien growing up till about his 5th birthday, and then we sort of rejoin him again on his birthday. And there's a massive birthday party in their grounds, where they've got like a fair there and loads of children, and there's press there, there's politicians, and the press taking loads of photos. They're taking loads of photos of Damien with the nanny, and Damien's mother gets quite jealous and takes the baby off takes Damien off her because she wants to be in the photos with it. And so we see the sort of nanny. She looks over and she sees this Rottweiler dog, which I suppose is a hound from hell, and it tends to hypnotise her. So the party sort of carries on, and they're all sort of like enjoying the rides, and you see Damien enjoying all the rides on the slide. And while he's on the roundabout, you hear the nanny shouting his name, Damien. I'm over here, Damien. Look at me. She sort of starts shouting, and everyone's looking around and gasping to see what it is. And then they spot her on the roof of the building, and she sort of like says, "This is for you, Damien. It's all for you." And she jumps off the building and hangs herself. She's got a noose around her neck, and she hangs herself. So that's the one way to end the party, I suppose. And so everyone's in complete shock, and she's hanging herself. And one of the photographers is sort of taking sort of lots of photos and things like that, and starting to sort of pin things together, I think. So that was quite shocking for the Paul family. I think we didn't join Robert in his offices a few days later in London, and he's there with his entourage of workers, and he gets a visit from a priest. Now, this priest that comes in is coming. Robert thinks he's there to sort of like for a charity thing, but he's not. He's there giving him a warning, saying that he was there when his son was born, and the child they've got now is the son of the devil. It's not, the child. But obviously Richard doesn't believe him, and he calls for the security to come and take him out. And so he gets escorted out of the building, and our photographer is there again, and he's taking photos of the priest. And then we cut to like the photographer in his sort of like his dark room at home, and he's noticing on the photos there's like a line coming down where from the priest down his side, and he's noticing him in quite a few photos. Excuse me, tired. Yeah, because it's late at night. It's nearly midnight, and he's noticed these in quite a few photos. And so there's some sort of connection going on, because with the nanny that killed herself, she also had the line, but going straight up from her neck, indicating that she was going to hang herself. We then sort of cut to the back to the house, and a new nanny has arrived. Now this one is she's not a nice nanny. She's not actually a nanny. She's a disciple of the devil, and she's there to look after Damien and make sure no harm comes to him. As you may have seen at the beginning of the video, you saw the little introduction to her. Well, she's there, and she's very anxious to see the lad. So she makes her way towards to see the lad, and then they catch up with her. So they know who sent you, because neither of them said, "Well, I haven't called her. Who sent her?" And she's basically saying that the agency have sent her, because they heard of the other nanny. They've sent her a replacement. So they say, "Oh, okay." So they're quite happy with that, and they let her go and see Damien. And this is where she sort of like says to him, "Have no fear, little one. I am here to protect thee." So we then get this conclusion that she is not all there. We then cut to a little bit further down the line, and they're going to a church. I think they're going to a wedding, or it could be just a normal Sunday church thing. But there's a bit of an argument on the stairs with the nanny, Mrs. Bullock, and the mother of Damien, because the nanny doesn't want Damien to go, obviously. But the mother said, no, he's coming. Get him dressed and put him in the car. He's coming. Because, I'm his mother, is coming. So they eventually take off down to the church. And as they approach the church, Damien starts to get really, really anxious. And starting sort of like his eyes are widening up and getting really scared when he sees the cross. And the closer they get, the more petrified Damien's getting. And when they arrive, Gregory Peck steps out the car, and Damien goes berserk and starts attacking the mother, pulling her hair, scratching her face, kicking, and this goes on. It must be terrifying for a bit. So Gregory Peck gets back in the car and they drive off and go home. And then obviously Damien didn't go into the church, and then all sorts of strange things like this happen throughout the film. Well, you'll get they go to the zoo, and all the animals at the zoo are terrified of Damien. They all sort of run away, or they try attacking the car. So these animals are sensed that he's not right, and there's like a rugby match, and Gregory Peck's there, and the photographer's there, even the priest is there, and the priest speaks to Gregory Peck, asking him to meet him at a place in London, like by the riverside, because he wants to talk to him. He says your wife's life depends on it. So he agrees to meet him, and he goes to meet him, and tells him again that his wife's pregnant, and that Damien will do everything to stop her from having a baby. He will try and get the baby terminated, and he's saying, that he's the son. And again, Gregory Peck doesn't believe him and sort of says to him, I never want to see you again. And he walks away after this meeting. And the priest goes off, and then the big storm hits and sort of follows the priest back to the church. And when he gets to the church, a lightning strike hits like the steeple, where there's like a huge sort of metal spike at the top of the steeple. And then the spike falls down, and then it sort of like penetrates the priest through his shoulder right down to the floor and pins him to the ground. And so the priest is dead. So anyone that's trying to stop Damien is getting killed pretty much. And the photographer is working all this out by his photographs, because he's seeing all these lines and stuff. And even on his photo, he caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror, and he's got a line that's going across the front of there. So a lot going on. I won't tell you anymore, because I want you to watch it yourself and enjoy it, because it's one of the best films ever made. That's what I think of The Omen. It's one of the greatest films in film history. I love The Exorcist, I really do, but I love The Omen more. I just like that story more. It's more believable, because The Exorcist was kind of like, it got so over the top with its sort of demonic possession and the exorcism that it but that was a demon. This is supposed to be the son of the devil, and there's no exorcism in this. And it is turned into an amazing trilogy. It's just one of the greatest films ever made, and it's just I can't compliment it enough. That it's just fantastic. It's what got me into horror movies. The pluses of this one, the transfer looks amazing, as hopefully you can see in the clips. The soundtrack is a character on its own. It's an amazing soundtrack. I have the soundtrack on CD. It's fantastic. It's one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. The acting is brilliant. Lee Remick and Gregory Peck and David Warner are absolutely fantastic in the film. And absolutely fantastic. And the effects for the time were brilliant. It's so sort of shocking for the time. It's like, yeah, it's not the most goriest of film. There is some gore in there with some of the deaths, but it's not the most goriest of films, but it doesn't need it. The deaths are terrifying. Damien is terrifying. The lad that plays Damien, Harvey, whatever his name is, fantastic too. Absolutely brilliant. Negatives to the film, there's none. None whatsoever. This is a 10 out of 10 film all the way. It's absolutely fantastic. There hasn't been a horror film that, when I've seen it from the first time, apart from Alien, that has captivated me into absolutely being obsessed with it. I mean, I was obsessed with The Omen and Alien, as you well know. Alien's my favourite movie. But I was absolutely obsessed with The Omen when it came out. When I bought it on video, I watched it over and over and over. And any time it came on telly, I used to watch it on telly, but it was always cut on telly. But I still used to watch it, and I still do to this day. Absolutely fantastic. It's just a timeless piece of cinema history and horror history. There's nothing really that touches it, really. The Exorcist is amazing, but The Omen is, it's more of a believable kind of story and more frightening, if you want my opinion. It's absolutely terrifying. Have any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you thought of it. It's, you know, if you're into horror movies, the Omen trilogy, you must have seen them, because every single one is an epic film. All of them. 1, 2, and 3. They're all brilliant. 10 out of 10, The Omen. Guys, until my next video, check out some horror channels for me. Horror Hands, the Horror Geek Man v Film. RS Designs, Pizzawell. I'm the Ice Lord, Sarah of Horror. Grumpy Andrews Horror House. Cat Watches Horror. All fantastic channels, guys. Until next time, look after yourselves. Look after one another. Don't have nightmares. And I hope I'll see you all soon.